Hey everyone, a warm welcome to our webinar on pitching to the big end of town. It is an exciting and yet daunting proposition because, wow, if you landed a contract, it could help you grow really quickly. Think of all those great happy dances you do on the day it happens. Yes, it's totally exciting, but then what? Well, today is all about demystifying the process and to make you aware of what's involved and to share with you a way that you can fast track pitching and getting in front of the big end of town. Firstly, let me introduce myself. I've had 25 years of corporate buying experience. My name's Lisa Sweeney and I run Business in Heels. And I used to run large sections of buying offices for Target and Spotlight. For the last 7 years, I've been focused on working with women-owned businesses through Business in Heels, and our whole mission's around helping women to fast track their results. We were so excited when we first discovered We Connect International, and they're all about connecting women with opportunities. The team at We Connect International is dedicated to bring our member buyers and women-owned businesses together, a global not-for-profit network that works with multinational corporations and multilateral organisations to generate market access opportunity for women's business enterprises in over 125 countries through supplier diversity. So today we welcome Minnie Venkachelam, who is the Regional Director for Southeast Asia and Oceania and for We Connect International. So welcome, Minnie.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, everybody. My name is Minnie, and I'm the Regional Director for We Connect International for most of Asia Pacific. I'm so excited to be here today because, like Lisa said, for We Connect International, it is about putting more money in the hands of women business owners through supplier diversity. So we work with large corporations, some of whom you'll hear from today, governments, multilaterals like the UN and the World Bank, to buy more and invest more in women-owned businesses. This is especially important because even today, less than 2% of all procurement spend goes to women-owned businesses. And that's kind of stupid in 2022. We need to change that number. Just getting 1% more puts 10 billion more in the hands of women business owners. So that's our goal for 2022. Let's work together to make that happen. And that can only happen when amazing women-owned businesses like you step up, identify yourselves, and help us, help you connect to the amazing organizations out there who have committed to buy from women-owned businesses.
Excellent. Thank you, Minnie. And you can see why Minnie's also been awarded the Singapore Women's Weekly Great Women of Our Time. She's doing a huge lot of work in many countries across Asia to make a difference. And she's also been recognised as a top 10 change maker. Now, let us have a warm welcome to our next panellist, Amy Crooks. She is EY APAC Environmental Social Governance Service Leader for EY, and she spends a lot of her time with her team working to support women-owned and women-led businesses. So, Amy, from your perspective, tell us a bit about how procurement works at EY.
Thanks, Lisa, and I apologise for just being a little late. So our supply chain services team is actually a global function here at EY. So we have about 450 procurement professionals that are sitting in various offices around the globe. And because we're a global organisation, we cover about 6 pillars, and that includes real estate, travel, meeting and events. We have technology services, talent, and then we also have our procurement services. But within that pillar is the one that I sit in, which is the Environmental Social Governance Services. And we look after our supplier diversity program globally. There's 7 of us in the team, but also sustainable procurement.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much, Amy, for sharing that with us. And our final panellist is Dave Andrews, who's the Microsoft Procurement Lead for Australia and New Zealand. So Dave, like EY, you're a global organisation. So tell us a little bit about how procurement works for you.
Sure, thanks, Lisa. And thanks, Minnie and Amy, for being part of this today. I think the Microsoft procurement is a relatively complex beast. We spend over about $56 billion across the world. And that procurement spend is represented in 120 countries. We have a procurement team of about 250 people. We have procurement that is business led, so a lot of our business owners can go out, procure from who they want, when they want. Procurement is there to support it. And real complexity to making supply diversity work in a company like Microsoft is ensuring that we raise the awareness, ensuring people understand why it's important for us to invest with women-owned businesses and underrepresented communities. So Microsoft is a complex organisation, but we're probably here to try and demystify some of that complexity, really create opportunity for diverse businesses to win work with large corporates like Microsoft and EY.
Fantastic, Dave. Great explanation. So, Minnie, you mentioned earlier that 2% of the global supply contracts go to women-owned and women-led business, which really hasn't shifted much in the last decade. But tell us a little bit about how the organisations that have signed up to WeConnect are making a difference and what sort of targets they might be shooting for.
Sure. So all of the corporations, and there's about 150 of them at this point, which is growing every day, thank God for that, have committed to buying more from women-owned businesses. What that means is that they're not just handing contracts on a platter to women business owners, but they are working to ensure that they have a fair chance at bidding for all contracts, that there are no barriers to access for women business owners, and that they have a fair representation in their supply chain. So these organizations work with WeConnect International to identify relevant women business owners through our online portal We Community, to ensure that they are indeed women-owned, because when they commit to putting money in the hands of women business owners, they want to make sure that there is no scam happening. And unfortunately, there are a few, but they want to make sure, and that's why we do certification of women-owned businesses, so they can safely say that, yep, I'm investing in a women-owned business. And then it's also about then helping their existing suppliers who are women-owned, as well as new suppliers, capacity build to make sure that they have all the paperwork, everything else in place to succeed and grow within supply chains. So that's what the commitments are. We are working with a lot of these organizations to set concrete targets. And I would say that at this point, a lot of them are looking at between 3% to 5% of their spend at least with women business owners. Organizations like Intel have committed to very large numbers, like, they're looking now to grow to about 8 to 10% of their supply chain by 2025. But it's all a work in progress. And that's where WeConnect International is coming in to bridge that gap where currently women business owners do not have access to the knowledge on what it takes to supply to these organizations, to understand when RFPs are going out, to bid and to have that face time with buyers. And that's what we're trying to challenge. And then also to have that capacity building, like, okay, so I've been at this level, what does it take for me to get to the next level within these procurement chains? So that's where WeConnect National comes in. That's where all of these organizations are committing. We have a wide range of organizations around the world, but in Australia and New Zealand, we have quite a few organizations now that have stepped up. They're a mix of global MNCs and some local organizations, like Westpac and Lion. We've got financial institutions, FMCG. We've got the tech companies. We've got consulting. We've got the folks like the Walmarts of the world who are buying from everywhere in the world. We've got airlines, hospitality. So they're all looking for suppliers, and they're fairly sector agnostic. So there's really a great opportunity for women-owned businesses to grow and scale with large procurement organizations.
Yeah, which is, and so for those of you who don't understand, WeConnect started in the US. And so you'll see that there's different sectors in the world for a lot of the multinationals that are operating at different speeds, because of course, it's partly how the organizations have matured in different countries. So in the case of the global organizations like EY and Microsoft, Amy, for you, what are the sort of KPIs that you're working towards for Australia versus what maybe the whole company's working towards?
Yeah, and look, that's a good point, because I think globally we have a procurement policy which really outlines for our whole global firm around what we're trying to achieve and how procurement works into that. And we've set an amount which once a procurement activity goes over that, they need to include a diverse supplier, and it comes through myself to make sure that we can identify those. Here in Australia, we've committed to the Raising the Bar, which is the Business Council program for Indigenous businesses. We're also supportive of the work that both We Connect and Fem Economy are doing around the introduction of a 5% target for government procurement and for inclusion of women-owned businesses. Then we also set our own KPIs for our procurement team here. So we have category targets. So they're all set by the global category leads, and they need to achieve each target each year. And then our
I think you're just breaking up just a little bit, Amy.
Target for ourselves each year. So it's not public.
Might just go to Dave, and you can jump in now, and then Amy, we'll come back to Amy. Hopefully her internet will catch up to her.
Yeah.
Available.
Sure, no problem.
It is about just making sure that we are meeting each and challenging our goals each year.
Cool. Thanks, Amy.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah, it's just
what part did we drop out? Is it unstable now?
That's
hang on 2 ticks.
We can hear you, but it was buffering a little bit. So we did hear that it was different by each different category, and within the country you had your own targets. So over to you, Dave. What's happening at Microsoft?
Yeah, sure, Lisa. I think from a global perspective, we absolutely have a focus on ensuring that we economically empower within the countries that we operate. And supply diversity can mean so many different things across each of those markets. In the US, we are obviously passionate about supporting the minorities over there. We have a strong membership to the National Minority Supply Diversity Council. We also have membership to a sister organisation to We Connect, which is WBE over there, which helps us focus on women-owned businesses. But what does that mean in an Australian context? In an Australian context, Amy and I collaborate a lot. We have very similar programs. We focus on women-owned businesses. We focus on Indigenous businesses, Australian disability enterprises, as well as social enterprises. How do we really look at diversity? We're a little bit unique in Microsoft at the moment, particularly in Australia, because we have decided that we don't want a target. We believe that we need to identify and award work to businesses that have capability, have capacity, are competitive, and are also certified by someone like We Connect. And we've made a significant investment to try and identify capable and competitive businesses in our supply chain. And we think by focusing on the supply side, by partnering with We Connect, Fem Economy, Business in Heels, we can help businesses understand how important it is to certify. We can also help them understand what it means to be a capable business to work at Microsoft. And we can also do assessments of their competitiveness against our current supply base. We try and break supply diversity down into what we call the supply diversity equation, which is supply, which we just talked about, suppliers that are capable, competitive and certified, to demand. Do we have spend in the areas that the suppliers are available? Do we have stakeholders as willing to change their buying decision? And both of those things together create opportunity. Opportunity doesn't mean a business immediately wins work. Opportunity means we have an opportunity to bid on work for that company. And that's really the first step in terms of supply diversity for anyone. The next step is award. So can we award that work to a diverse business, and can we grow their impact in our business? Can we spend more money with them? And also looking at the impact of that spend from a social context. So where we're looking at women-owned businesses, we know women-owned businesses are highly more likely to employ more women. And there is no safer place for females to have representation in the workforce than in a woman-owned business. There's many other things that we're looking to measure, many other ways that we want to measure every single supplier in our supply chain and their impact on diversity and inclusion, as well as their social impact past the dollars that we spend with them. More to come on that later. But I think it's really important for people to understand that we look at capability, we look at capacity, we look at competitiveness, and ultimately one of the first things we look for is registration certification with an intermediary like WeConnect and or Fem Economy and or another certifying body, but our primary investment is with WeConnect at this point in time.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, Dave. So we've got a global economy that's operating at 2%. We've got WeConnect working with organisations to step and ramp it up to 2 to 5. And as you've heard, both Microsoft and EY, who are partner organisations to WeConnect, are working to do this as to the best of their ability within the Australian market, maybe beyond the 5%. So there's lots of opportunity. And I guess that's, as Dave said, that's the absolute first starting point. And on the 26th of May, there is going to be an Australian forum coming up where you will have that opportunity to pitch to the various corporate and the organisations that are signatories to WeConnect. It's a fabulous time for all concerned, because trying to set up one meeting with busy people like Dave and Amy is a challenge anyway. So to be able to knock over 4 or 5 in one day is fabulous for everyone concerned. So, but the first point is that you need to be certified. So Minnie, you did touch on this, that people need to be certified, but just give us a very brief overview of what's involved if people want to get the certification.
Absolutely, Lisa. So certification basically verifies that your organization is minimum 51% owned, managed, and controlled by one or more women. We have independent assessors in each country that will review your paperwork. So it's a simple process. You go into an Ariba platform, which is what We Community, our global platform, is based on. You fill out a form, which will ask you a lot of slightly invasive questions about, who owns your company, what percentage they own, who has everything from the daily authority in the organization to financial authority for the organization to board authority for the organization, because we do want to make sure that the women owner is involved in the business. And then you will have to submit paperwork to back this up. It isn't as extensive as it sounds, but it also depends on what the structure of your organization is. The paperwork for sole proprietorship is very different from a partnership or a corporation, for example. And of course, you can submit trust paperwork that shows your ownership. And then once that is all submitted, and there is a fee, which on average for most Australian companies is about $500. This goes to our independent assessor, who will review the documentation. They will then get in touch with you, set up a call, go through any questions they might have, and then they make a recommendation to WeConnect International as to whether they think this organization is women-owned or not. A second review happens at the WeConnect International level by our head of certification and certification committee, and then, only then, a certificate is issued to the organization saying that you are indeed women-owned. You get to use the very cool women-owned logo on everything you do, and this certificate is recognized not only by all of the corporations we work with, but also by governments around the world and multilaterals like the UN, the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, and now also DFAT. So this is definitely an advantage. It's an easy process. Reach out to the WeConnect International team. You can go on our website. There's a step-by-step process on how to do this, as well as our standards and processes for certification. It will not take a lot of your time, but if you need help, please reach out to the certification team or just to me. If you go on the WeConnect National website, you'll see my my photo and my email address. I mean, email will walk you through it. It's very easy. Lisa has been a certified member of We Connect International. We're so proud to be working with her over the years. And we know that both Amy and Dave work with like amazing certified businesses that we have in our network. And they've all done really, really, really well. Many of the corporates that we talk to very often say that the women that we introduce to them are they're more agile, more effective. They do the work in half the time. They're the perfect supplier. They just didn't know they existed. And that's exactly what we want to challenge.
So just going back to the certification process, I can testify it's not that hard to do. We can push it through, I think, within 7 days, which we've done a couple of times with people.
Yep.
And so as long as you've got all your legal documents together, and this is a legal requirement, then it's fine. So Dave, tell us a little bit about why it's really important to companies like Microsoft that you're dealing with certified businesses.
Yeah, sure, Lisa. I think also I met you at our We Connect event, the first pitch event that I attended. You were part of that. I still remember you pitching Business in Heels to me, and it's great to see that it's kicking along nicely and partnering with people in our community to drive the impact that you wanted. That'll be 5 years ago now, so well done. I think when we look at certification, it's critically important for us as large organisations that we have independent third parties that certify and audit ownership structures. The important part for us is ensuring that it is independent, that it is done with strong governance, because we're actually super proud of these programs. We want to invest more, and we want to ensure that the money that we're investing with women-owned businesses is driving the impact within the community that we want to see. And there's a lot of assumptions that go behind supplier diversity programs around increasing employment opportunities, creating skilling opportunities for women in business. And we have built these programs based on the assumption that women-owned businesses, majority women-owned businesses that are controlled and operated by women, have a strong focus on gender equality, have a strong focus on providing employment opportunities for other women, have a strong focus on skilling opportunity. So the critical nature of an independent third party to certify and register is ultimately what drives investment from large companies like us, where companies have to rely on self-attestation, self-certification, or people just saying, well, we're a women-owned business, why can't you use us? That actually creates a lot of brand risk for a company like Microsoft, a company like EY. For us, we want to share our success stories. We want to use our women-owned businesses as North Stars for other businesses and other female entrepreneurs to learn from and aspire to be. So the certification and registration process that companies like We Connect provide is ultimately important to the success of the industry moving forward, and also important for the continued investment of multinationals like Microsoft and EY.
Totally. And remember, all these companies are, listed on the stock exchange, so they have to justify and be able to be audited. And so making sure that, the facts are totally factual is really important. So we know that there's an opportunity. We know that if you're certified, you can get to meet some of these amazing people. So let's demystify the actual process a little bit, because as both Amy and Dave said earlier, it's not about just getting contracts handed to you on a platter. It's about being competitive and being ready and having capability. It's about relationship building and really understanding if your product or service is going to be suitable. As a buyer, you're responsible for achieving your KPIs by bringing goods and services into the company. It's not as easy as it sounds, because they need to arrive on time to the specifications, and they need to be processed through whatever system each company uses. And the bigger the company, the bigger the systems and more complex. So when I was running Target's toy business, at one point I had 365 suppliers. Now, I couldn't even speak to them one a day and get around my entire supply base. So yes, I had a team of buyers, but each supplier takes time and effort. especially new suppliers. So you need to understand that onboarding and supporting new suppliers and getting them onto the system and teaching them how the organisation works is workload for all the buyers that you'll deal with. And so you need to understand you've got to have something pretty compelling to get them motivated to put you on. Whilst they want to do it for all the good reasons, they're not going to do it at the risk of them achieving the KPIs. So Amy, let's just talk a little bit about the values of your business and what's important to you from the point of a supplier.
I think you just outlined quite a lot of it there, Lisa, and I think the best thing about my job, and let me know if the internet becomes unstable again, is the relationship building. And that's where I'm seeing the best investment in the businesses pay off. And that's why we have someone like myself in a role that can really kind of move that forward. EY, our whole purpose is to build a better working world, and within even our ESGS team, we're committed to fostering an inclusive and sustainable mindset, and that goes across all parts of the business. So I work in with every part of the business. I'm not just one category person within procurement. We look at opportunities for our indirect and how our building operates, but also our biggest opportunities are on our client engagements. So you would be aware that there is a lot of different government social procurement frameworks in place that really are kind of focused on where we can bring those diverse suppliers in, the women-owned businesses, but also they're looking for a lot of local SME support and reporting on those client engagements, which is where it's a brilliant opportunity for me to connect in with WeConnect and find out who do we have that might be able to add some value to that part of the client engagement. And so also as part of our EY Next Wave strategy, a global strategic pillar of that is engaging and attracting exceptional and diverse people. So EY has a really big strength in that we are building a really strong pillar around gender as well, and as well as our minority communities. And that's where I think the overlap between EY in our values and Microsoft is really quite close and aligned, and that's why I think we work so well together. But when I'm introducing suppliers to my supply chain, I'm first of all looking at just those capabilities that Dave spoke about before, the capacity that they have, and also those opportunities that I see in the business to grow. So it might start with a small engagement, but we're always looking at how can we invest in our women-owned businesses to help them grow into their other parts of our business. So I really look at what's a good fit for EY. Sometimes I might meet the supplier first. Other times I might introduce them directly to the team that I think they would be a good fit with, and whether that introduction is done via Microsoft Teams or with an email. And it's just really identifying and knowing which parts of the business they would best gel with. And being a global organization, we really expect probably a bit of patience and resilience from our suppliers as well, simply because it is a huge organization that takes a lot to navigate. And while I've been at EY for over 15 years, it doesn't mean that I know exactly what we do and who might have that need. So for me, it's really about knowing my own organization, and that's not always easy, but it's just knowing our champions of who I can feed that through and make the best introductions.
Thanks for that, Amy. Dave, do you have different or similar things that you think about?
Yeah, I think we're very similar as organisations, as Amy said. I personally love collaborating with Amy. To be frank, one of the first people that I reach out to identify diverse businesses that we could use at Microsoft is Amy, to understand who EY has used to be successful, to understand who the other members like Westpac, who have they used in their supply chain, because that really de-risks it from an internal stakeholder perspective. But I think the important piece of feedback here is Microsoft in this area particularly focuses on awarding work on merit, making sure that the only bias we create as a part of a supply diversity program is an opportunity bias, a bias that create something that previously didn't exist, an opportunity for women-owned businesses to win work from multinationals like Microsoft or EY. The job then falls on the business to win the work. The job then falls on the business to pitch correctly. The job then falls on that business to be competitive, understand their capability and capacity, and make sure they're pitching for the appropriate work for their business. It's great to think of companies like Microsoft and EY as aspirational customers, clients, but also you need to really ask the question, are we the right customers? Are we the right clients? Because I can categorically say a lot of the time we're not. And some of the people in our supply chain might be the right customer, the right client for your business, depending on your size, your scale, your maturity, your competitiveness. So the conversations that are created through Business and Heels and We Connect International are conversations with people like Amy and I that will have an honest conversation with you that, hey, I actually don't think we're the right customer for you, but I know someone in our supply chain that would be. So let me make that introduction. And I think the power of the community, the power of our collective voice, the power of our collective advocacy is what changes buying decisions in the long run. And a lot of businesses, a lot of small and medium businesses come and pitch work to us, and they're super competitive, they're super capable, but they just don't have size and scale yet. So the role for people like Amy and I is to create that opportunity within our supply chain somewhere, help that business secure an opportunity with one of our first tier or primary contractors. So you can build scale, so you can build that list of capability and capacity. So I think there's a couple of key questions there, Lisa. I know I've talked a lot about things, but for me, you need to understand your client. You need to understand whether they're the right business for you. A lot of businesses want to work for a company like Microsoft or EY, but what this community creates is an avenue for you to have a really frank conversation. Please, when we're giving you feedback, we're giving it with best intent. We're giving you feedback based on the demand we see in our business and the feedback we get from our customers. That doesn't mean we're trying to be hypercritical for your business. That just means we're trying to help you learn and grow so we can secure that larger opportunity with a company like Microsoft or EY.
Yes, and I think you need to understand that sometimes, you know, if it's a really big contract, it could put you out of business. So that's not something that in your scaling journey, you want to be in that position, and it's highly risky for the organisations involved if they know that that's likely to happen. So as the person that was on the buying side of the fence, I spent a lot of time, like Dave and Amy, sitting down talking to people and explaining why they didn't want to do business with Target Australia, but similarly finding those other opportunities. But I think that comes back to the workshops that we're planning to run, which will really give people a sense of some of the things involved, and it will be a good mix through the day of hearing from the various different organisations, things like trading terms, some of the financial constraints that people need to think about. How do they get access to cash if it's a long lead time product or service? You know, how do they actually get onto the systems that they need to do to deliver some of the things? So all of these have cost implications to the business and your systems and processes. And some of you will be more ready than others. And so I think you need to understand some of those things involved before you even start developing your pitch. And then later in the day, what we are going to do is work out how to get those capability statements done and the snappy pitches so that these guys can actually, you know, find out really quite quickly what you do and find out, you know, whether you can fit or not. So Dave, just give us a quick overview of the sort of products and services that you mainly procure, because obviously there will be global contracts that you won't be able to touch, but, you know, what's the sort of breadth of it?
Yeah, sure. So Microsoft's a really interesting company, right? We procure a lot of different things. Our largest investment is in data center construction. Most people don't think of Microsoft and think of data centers, but it's one of our largest opportunities. It's one of our largest revenue generating activities for our company. And it's definitely the size and the scales of investments in our area are significant. So if there are any women-owned businesses that are in construction industry, that are in technology in terms of providing products and services to support data centers, I'd be happy to hear from you. If we think about the scale of those investments in Australia, half of our investments are in data centers, The other half of the investment sit in our Australian subsidiary, which we usually identify more women-owned businesses in these categories where we can spend money with them. So we focus a lot on marketing, events, and those type of activities. We're a sales-based business in Australia, so anything that we can do to support sales end-to-end is greatly appreciated. But primarily, we focus on marketing and marketing, advertising, media, and events are probably our largest spend areas, and then professional services. So the big bucket for Microsoft, the huge opportunity is in construction right now. But as we build out those assets, it becomes operations, and then it's also supporting the sales functions and organisations in our business to sell our products and services. So that's around marketing, advertising, media, and professional services.
Fantastic. Well, and I think nobody would have guessed all those products. So thank you for sharing that with us, Amy. Your business is even broader in a lot of ways than Dave. So what sort of products and services do you guys look for?
We're actually, our biggest focus, and if I think compared just through to Dave, our biggest spend is people. So as a professional services firm, I get a lot of people coming through thinking that our spend would be within our indirect, so how our building operates, etc. But it's just not. The spend there is actually low, and the opportunities is just not where I focus my attention. So as mentioned before, a lot of it is the opportunities for small and medium enterprises as subject matter resources. So we're always partnering to go to deliver the expertise that perhaps we don't have in-house and subcontract those opportunities out. The other thing that we're focused a lot on at the moment is, of course, technology. So we're really looking for IT contractors quite a lot to help us out fill the spots. We're having a lot of trouble getting people from overseas, so we're still kind of trying to recover in that area. So we're spending a lot at the moment within our Gig Now sector for IT contractors, but also a big focus of EY is that new workplace of the future. How are we going to work? And it's around that staff retention as well. So I do kind of seek out suppliers that are going to help us, whether it's coaching and mentoring or whether it's something that they have that would be a good offering to kind of invest within the staff and try and keep them happy and stay at EY is probably what we're focused on. But it's big. We've got a lot of areas that we focus on, and a lot of it is just around those human elements. But anything that is innovation that's going to help us do better, then we bring that out to our client teams as well for them to look at. But yeah, we're very different. It's not as the low fruit is not hanging in the areas that everyone assumes. It's literally how can you help us deliver a great product to our clients?
Yeah, great. Great to see it being customer centric. And Minnie, you probably have a good overview because you talk to a lot of the different organisations. Tell us a little bit about the breadth of products and services that you're being asked for.
Absolutely. I mean, I will tell you in the last month and a half, we've seen RFPs, a lot of RFPs for the IT sector come in. We have some for marketing and communications, a lot for facility services. So everything from the cleaning services to construction to even, just management of IT, like the wiring and all of that within organizations. We've had some for product, especially for in the hospitality sector as well as for airlines. So, all of the product that you have, dry services. We've had requests for catering. So just in the last month and a half. So it's quite wide in terms of what people are looking for. We also have folks like Starbucks who are looking for everything from the coffee to the cups to lighting. So it's very, very wide in terms of the products. But I would say the top ones would definitely at this point be logistics, packaging, facilities management, construction, marketing, communications, IT, and manufacturing, but very specific to particular sectors that they're looking for at this point.
And I've even had one request for a women-run energy supplier at one point. So
absolutely, yes. And transport's the other one.
Yeah.
Now that people are going back to work, they're all looking for transport.
Yes, well, that is a challenge in Australia at the moment. So you can see that the products and services that are sourced are vast, and because we're dealing with very large organizations, you know, there's a lot of different things. So there is an opportunity. We know if you're certified, it will make a difference. It is all about relationship building, but getting down to making sure that you have a snappy pitch. You've got about 15 minutes with these buyers on days like the forum that we're going to have on the 26th of May. So you need to make sure you've done your homework, that you understand where you've got common values, where you've got capability. You need to be able to demonstrate that and talk about other people that you've worked with. And you need to focus on the outcomes, how you're going to help them deliver things to their customers, whether it's the internal customers or the external. They don't really want to know your how-to. They really want to know just what you're going to deliver and your values. And then if there's that opportunity and they can see that capability, they'll dig in on a later conversation into the other part of it. So being able to be clear on how, you know, you can help them is what's really important. And that's why, you know, we decided to run Big Deals in Heels coming up. We've got 2 workshops where I'm kind of bridging the gap from my unique perspective of both being on both sides of the fence. As a buyer, I totally get where the guy's coming from, and as a small business owner, I again understand just some of the opportunities for women-owned and women-led businesses. So the 28th of April and the 24th of May are the days for the 2 workshops. And if anyone wants to know more about these sorts of things, if you go to the Business in Heels website and look under Big Deals in Heels, you'll see a whole lot of information around other webinars, how you can get in touch with Minnie when we're doing these workshops and when you're doing the forums are coming up. And we feel that once we get a bit of a roll on, we'll be having lots more opportunities of these to come, all designed to help you scale up your business, because at the end of it, what we want to see is women-owned and women-led businesses doing really well. So what are the key things that we haven't touched on, Dave and Amy and Minnie, that we should be getting the women-owned businesses to think about? So firstly, Dave, over to you. What are the other things we haven't touched on?
I think the one piece of advice I'd love to give in these forums is persistence is the key, right? I can't speak highly enough of some of the women-owned businesses that I've engaged with over the last 15 years in my career, to be honest. And their ability to listen, their ability to learn, their ability to adapt is what has won them work. And I think the excitement of coming and pitching to a company like Microsoft can quickly turn into disappointment. And I think if you use the analogy that we use internally at Microsoft, we all live with a growth mindset. We want to be learn-it-alls, not know-it-alls. We want to continue to invest in our personal and professional growth. And being a small business owner, you're doing that every day. You're going to be focused. You're going to hit hurdles. You're going to get to a point where you think you've just won this big job and you haven't. But the people that persist, the people that are determined to understand truly what the opportunity is and how they can best achieve the outcome the business wants, they're the people that are successful. They're the people that win the work. And really using the network of allies, supporters like Amy and I to help grow your understanding of where you fit is extremely important. And the benefits of memberships to intermediaries like We Connect or organisations like Business in Heels is you have the ability to come and listen and learn from us. You have the ability to provide us feedback, help us listen and learn and grow. But more importantly, you have the ability to grow your perspective and understanding of the opportunity in front of you and where your business can help meet that opportunity and help meet that demand. So the best piece of advice I give at this point is persistence and determination, omnipotent, right? They're the thing that's going to drive your business. They're the thing that's going to drive your success. And policy, whether it's public, whether it's private, those policies don't create buying decisions in companies. They create impetus for people to consider companies to buy from. It's up to you to fill the gap with capable businesses that are competitive, that can do the job.
Yeah, really great point. And I think, small business is nimble, it's innovative, and that often gives it an edge, which is attractive to bigger organisations who don't have that flexibility. So that's kind of where we fit in. It's a big opportunity. So, Amy, from your perspective, are there other things that you'd like to share on how businesses can be successful?
Yeah, I think similar to what Dave has said, I think persistence is key, but also knowing that balance of how often to keep in touch is always a good thing as well. Especially with anyone who's in procurement. I think as well, know the organization that you're pitching to. I always appreciate someone who's actually done some research on the work that we actually do and know how you make yourself fit into that. Can you identify any of our pain points that you think you can address and lead with that? But second, and similarly to Dave, is, lean on people like Dave and myself, but know what we're also offering when it comes to supporting women-owned businesses. So we run some really great programs here at EY. We have Entrepreneurial Winning Women program, which is really amazing, but we're also always launching different social impact hubs, as well as small business growth seminars and things like that. So just make the most of the assistance that companies like EY or Microsoft offer. We Connect run programs all the time and have great material available to really understand how you can pitch better. And I think what you're doing is spot on, because we sat down only last week with a business. We spent an hour going through the pitch. I felt terrible at the end, where I felt like I had pulled it apart but she was able to then go, right, okay, great. And now we'll sit down. We've also offered resources. So we don't just pull it apart. We say, here's who I can connect you within EY to help you with this, whether it's someone in BD or whether it's someone within our operations team. We give them the opportunity to just use the resources that we have at hand, and then we'll retest that pitch again later on. So I think it's using those things that are out there for women-owned businesses. Lean on people like Minnie to actually see where she knows our programs and she knows who to do it them to. I think that's the best advice I can give as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. And Minnie, from your perspective, what are the key actions that business owners need to take to be successful?
I think, I might be stepping on the point of my other two panelists, but first is know that, all of while these organizations have committed to buying from women-owned businesses, what all of us can do is give you a foot in the door. We can't guarantee you a contract. That depends on your pitch and how you are able to communicate your competitive advantage. Build a really good pitch. A pitch deck, one of the sort of complaints that we get a lot from corporations is that they're really keen to support, but they're not able to articulate why the supplier has a competitive edge over their incumbent supplier. And that is a challenge for them, because then, they do have to get the buy-in of their wider team to be able to bring in a new supplier. Do your research on what the company is doing, but also, if possible, research on what your competitors are doing to make sure that you are providing that competitive edge, and are meeting industry standards, etc., in your pitch. And don't hesitate to ask for help. I think that's something that a lot of women are very hesitant to ask, because it makes them feel like they are at a disadvantage. But you've got amazing resources like the buyers on this call and others, people who are willing to offer you mentorship to help grow your whatever areas you currently feel are a challenge. Reaching out for accessing finance, understanding the payment terms of large organizations and whether that is suitable for you as an organization. What does that mean for you in terms of the your turnover, etc. These are all things that you do need to take into consideration. And everyone wants to work with the big organizations, but you really do need to be sure that which organization you want to target and whether you qualify. And that's one thing that We Connect National can help do. We work with all of these organizations to basically do understanding the procurement process, what it takes, what are the categories that are priority, and then you can decide, hey, I'm ready for this, I want to do this now, or here's things I need to put in place to be ready for this, or what, this is not for me. I do not want to do this right now. And we will be doing much of this also during the forum, having a lot of our partners talk about their procurement processes so you can best be understand that, be ready to work with them, and to be like the best supplier they have ever seen. And we know that women-owned businesses are really, really good at what they do. They just need that foot in the door. And that's what we're here to do. At the forum, there will be a lot of people from different sectors. Again, don't just talk to everybody just because, oh my God, it's an opportunity lost if I don't. Be sure of which sectors you want to target, who you want to talk to, and how you want to present yourself to them.
Yeah, and to that end, that's a big part of the afternoon on the workshops. We're going to have 4 entrepreneurs who are currently dealing with a number of these businesses talking about how they did their pitches, what was successful, what worked, what didn't work. And then everyone's going to get to actually develop their pitches with the help of these entrepreneurs, and you'll close the day doing your pitch. And then you've got another day after that to really hone it up before we get into the forum. So you'll go in prepared. And I think to Minnie's point, and it's really important to focus on what it is that you do well and who you do it well for. So you've heard it from the experts. If you're a women-owned and led business, you've got an opportunity to pitch to corporates. You can leapfrog your competition by being certified and being recognised as a women-owned and women-led business. It's not often that women get a foot in the door ahead of their competition, at least a seat at the table. So we should take every chance to make the most of us. And then by skilling up, you can make sure that you're well prepared for starting to build those relationships. But as I said, it does take time. So a huge thank you to Amy Crooks, Dave Andrews, and Minnie Venkachelam for joining us and having this discussion. Thank you. And we do have a couple of questions, so I'm not sure if we can take 1 or 2, but one of the questions was, is there a specific cash flow level that I should have to participate? Not sure if anyone wants to answer that.
I'm happy to answer that. It all really depends on the level of the work that you're bidding on, right? So for me, if it's a low value, low risk work, and in a company like Microsoft, that's things under $1 million, to be honest. We wouldn't be analysing your company's cash flow. Other businesses are different. They may take that step. They may ask for financials. They may take a different approach. But in a company like ours, we look at low risk, low dollar value work as anything under $1 million. And I know that just rolls off my tongue, but it is relative to the size of our business. So no, we wouldn't have any particular requirements around cash flow. We would have requirements around pre-qualification of your business to do work with us, around anti-corruption vetting, around other supplier due diligence activities, but we wouldn't be solely focused on, we wouldn't at all be focused on financials given a smaller type of contract.
Yeah, good to know. Are there additional resources or people that can help me as I move through this process? And I think you've alluded to some around anti-corruption. I think a lot of the organisations would have third parties in place to help with some of the QA systems. Yeah.
In addition, something that We Connect National will be rolling out by the end of this month is actually a business readiness assessment. This will help you just go, it's a personalized thing. You can go through it and then it'll showcase where you need to possibly strengthen your paperwork, your current processes in order to make sure that you meet the minimum requirements of most corporations. And then, connect you with resources that can help you, training to do it, whether templates to do it, etc. So that's something that also We Connect National will be rolling out soon. Stay tuned. Definitely, if you're a certified business, you'll be the first to know about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Really appreciate it. And I think everyone's now a little wiser. So thanks a million.
Thanks so much.